CFBHN is a not-for-profit 501c3 managing entity contracted with the Department of Children and Families to provide a full array of public safety net behavioral health services. They are a CARF International accredited organization who contracts with community organizations in 14 Florida West Coast counties. Learn about everything CFBHN has to offer today on Bayside. Good morning and welcome to Bayside. I am your host, Shelly Sanders. We are talking all about Central Florida Behavioral Health Network, also known as CFBHN. And of course, anytime we talk about it, we always talk to a very good friend of the show, Miss Doris Nardelli. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Yeah. Happy New Year in 2023 in beautiful Tampa Bay.
Oh, I love it. So it's always a pleasure to have you here. Every time you come, you enlighten us of just another layer, another element, another something new that your organization is doing. And you already have, you make the Thanksgiving dinner plate look small in comparison to how much you really are doing in the 14 counties here on the west coast of Florida. I know I kind of alluded to it, and maybe to some of our viewers even, they were like, wait, what do you do? It could be a little confusing. So before we get into the nitty-gritty and some of the new things going on, let's talk about that, because 14 counties, I gotta imagine each county has their own set of issues, if you will.
They do, and we work very closely with all of the county entities that are there, the local government, the providers, the community organizations, the grassroots organization, to be respective of what their individual counties need and want in their particular area for behavioral health services. And we're talking about substance misuse services, and we're talking about mental health services. Those are behavioral health services, and this is, as you said, the public safety net of care. This is provided for by the state of Florida through the Department of Children and Families, and we also manage federal funds as well as state funds to provide those array of services. And we do everything from prevention through crisis services to outpatient services and specialty programs. There's just a myriad of programs that we run and manage throughout our 14 counties.
I can only imagine, right? So that's actually what it means to be that managing entity, correct? In that you kind of oversee and help to facilitate, because I would imagine in some cases too, some of these counties need assistance from another county or work hand in hand, or get ideas on, hey, they did a really good job at managing that crisis or handling this topic or issue, right?
And we do. There's some of the smaller counties, the rural counties in the south areas, really partner and work together. Then we have the metro areas that you are certainly the hub of right here in Tampa with Pinellas, and we also go over into Polk Highlands and Hardee County. So those are the 14 counties, Pasco, down through the metro, over and down into Henry Glades. So they're all very, very different. And so we respond to each of their needs appropriately as best we can with the funding we manage.
For sure. Now, what does it mean to be CARF International accredited?
We wanted to be accredited when we were first formed, and we actually came into being, all of the managing entities, and there's 7 of them in the state that cover the entire state of Florida. And we sought to be accredited by an organization, and CARF was the one that we chose, and they oversee internationally all kinds of organizations like ours, managing organizations, and we go through the process with them. Usually about every 3 years you're accredited and you're reaccredited. So we've gone through it every 3 years to be reaccredited and maintain our accreditation since we were formed about 25 years ago.
Love that. So pretty big bragging rights, if you will. So let's get down to some of the services that you provide, and some of them being prevention services.
Yes, prevention is one of the big key focuses, certainly for our governor and the First Lady, very focused on prevention and how can we make sure bad things don't happen down the road where they become more critical for the individual and the families and become more costly for the taxpayers to fund services that are needed. So we look at prevention, and one of the areas of prevention that we have worked very closely with the Governor's office and the First Lady is underage alcohol use, which has been recognized in all of our 14 counties as the primary issue that they wanted to alleviate, is how do we best protect our young people and get them the information they need in order to say no when they're offered or presented with either alcohol, which is the primary focus, or substances, illegal substances, which we also don't want them to be indulging in at their age.
For sure. And that's a pretty big undertaking, certainly when you have sort of a laissez-faire attitude when it comes to the older teens, say for example in high school, juniors or seniors. And I would imagine in some cases too, it would be parental issues where some parents may take it lightly, whereas others do not.
And we even have in our colleges and universities, we have our young people, they're not yet even 21 going off to college, and they need to be aware of the dangers for them as well, to their health and safety and well-being.
For sure. So how do you address that? I know you have a campaign. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I do want to talk about the campaign. We did adopt, and this has been going on now, we're in our third year of the campaign, to make our communities and our families aware. And the campaign messaging is targeted directly to the parents and caregivers. It's called Talk, They Hear You. And it's a SAMHSA-sponsored campaign. That's the big federal agency that looks at this behavioral health environment, if you will, and they've provided guidance and support and developed materials that we've adapted for our use here in our 14 counties in our managing entity geographic location. And we're getting that message out to encourage parents, caregivers, etc., to have this talk with their children, to have it frequently and often, and to start young, and to explain to them why they need to say no when they're presented and they're in situations where there may be alcohol present. You never know. Sometimes where your children, even though you think you know where they're visiting and where they're at or where they're going, you never know when things may turn up there. And how do your children feel comfortable saying no? You need to have this talk with them, explain to them why it's not good for them when they're developing brains and they're developing bodies, to keep them healthy, safe, and how do they say no? What are some things to do? So all this material provides that information for parents to have this talk, this very important talk, one of the very important talks you have with your children.
Sure.
One of the many. One of the many.
Exactly.
Throughout their lifespan.
So 3 years in the making, I got to feel that this has been pretty successful for you. Otherwise, you wouldn't continue to be doing this campaign. And for you at home, I know you're probably wondering, well, hey, hold on. I want to know, how do I get a hold of this information? Well, you're looking at the website right there in front of you. And that is CFBHN.org, Central Florida Behavioral Network.org. It's the acronym. Go check it out while we go to break. We'll be back. Welcome back to Bayside. I'm your host, Shelley Sanders. I've been having a conversation with a good friend of the show, Doris Nardelli. She is with CFBHN, and we were just talking about this very successful campaign that you've had going on for 3 years, Talk, They Hear You, as it relates to parents and their children. Because I think a lot of times parents, you know, everyone is guilty of this at some point or another. It's like, oh gosh, I feel like that's all I do is talk to them about this, have them do that, and I don't know how to approach it. I did this when I was a kid. There's so many excuses that we give ourselves, or my kids know the deal. They would never. I think a lot of people probably fall in that category and would be completely shocked to see what your kids are actually doing, or even not so much even what they're doing, but what they're faced with. And so, you know, speaking as a parent of children, I would don't want my kids feeling like unequipped or ill-equipped or even any kind of stress about it. I would hope that they would come and talk to me. So talk, they hear you. I love that. And that could be any campaign for anything, bottom line. Keep that open communication with your kids, right? So so that relates to parents. But what could we do as a community? We've got people that are watching that perhaps they're school teachers, church goers, anyone that's involved with youth at all, people that you work with. We have people that maybe work with teens, underage people.
And we do have groups of organizations, grassroots organizations in each of the counties, and they're called prevention coalitions. And if you are the kind of person, if you're a parent and you don't like all the techie stuff, or you don't want to go to the website, or maybe just go to the website to find out who your coalition is, they have feet on the ground, people there. They have a sort of a storefront, if you will, that you can walk in and you can pick up pamphlets and you can talk to them and you can find out what they're doing in your own community. And even if you are say you want to mentor young people, you're a big brother, big sister, or you're working in a church, or you're in the schools, and you want to know more about how you can help facilitate this dissemination of information. It's available to you either through us directly on our website, which we're connected with SAMHSA. We have all those good resources and tips right there that you can download. Sure. There's apps you can put on your phone, so you always have the answers. When your child has a question, you can refer to it and be the expert.
Ultimately, CFBHN.org is
that's
core a starting
to get to.
spot, and that will give you all the information.
And then that will connect you with those prevention coalitions that are local to you, that you can call up or walk in and get information there from them. And we help fund them and support them and support what they're doing. And they're a resource for everything in regards to substance misuse. As it relates to the things that you all do, which is, like I said in the beginning, it's like a Thanksgiving plate full of various topics. We've addressed the substance abuse, which unfortunately we continue to do so and probably will. There's another element that sometimes has to do with substance abuse and sometimes not, but unfortunately we have to deal with, and we're talking about suicide. Another really big campaign that you guys have going on is called #BeTheOne2. Yes. Talk to me about that. Yes, this is again another focus of the First Ladies and the governors, and they realized our suicide rates were not good in Florida, throughout the whole state. It does impact our young people quite heavily. It impacts our veterans, impacts older folks. It's kind of through the spectrum of the ages that people consider suicide as the option for them because of what they're dealing with, either from a mental health issue or either from a substance misuse issue. And they feel very desperate and alone, and this is the only way out. So we wanted to tackle this and bring communication out to the general public, and this is sort of the #BeTheOne2 campaign is sort of a first aid of how you can help someone that you are connected with or you're affiliated with, friends with, relatives, to stop them from acting out on this suicide ideology. And there's 5 steps that you can follow and do that would protect someone from acting out on a suicide ideation. Okay, do share these. Okay, let's talk about them. Number 1, and people think about this and they say, we really shouldn't do that because if we talk about it, then that will make someone want to do it. Number 1 is ask someone. If they have sort of hinted around or they're talking about it, ask them about it. And studies have shown that this will not increase the acting out the completion of a suicide. This will actually kind of almost stop it in its tracks, because then you start opening conversation.
Sure.
So first ask. And also the reverse flip of ask is listen. So it's like really listen to what the person says, not what you think they ought to say or what you think, but what are they actually saying. So listen to what they have to say.
Absolutely. Doris, so I hate to interrupt you. We do have to take a break, but
Okay.
we are going to get into these steps. I think it's very important. For you at home, you can also find these 5 steps. You can learn more about the hashtag #BeTheOne2 campaign by going on to the website that you're looking at right there. It's cfbhn.org, cfbhn.org. As a matter of fact, this would be a perfect time for you to go ahead and go check it out. That way you'll be ahead of the game when we come back after these messages. Welcome back to Bayside. I'm your host, Shelley Sanders. We've been talking to Doris Nardelli of CFBHN. You know, Doris, when we left, we were talking about the campaign, hashtag #BeTheOne2, and we were talking about the 5 steps to suicide prevention underneath that campaign. We had just talked about ask. Many people are afraid to oh God, I don't want to ask because I'm afraid if I ask, they're going to follow through with it. If you have that gut feeling, first of all the times, if you feel that in here, that's the time. No better time than right then to, hey, bring it to the table.
And part of it is if you ask and someone says, yes, I have thought about suicide and I want to do this. Some people feel like, well, I don't know what to do. And what if they do tell me that? How am I going to help? Well, this is why we've got the campaign. So you got the 5 steps. So you ask and listen and know, and then you be there for that person that told you that. Because if you are connected with them in some way, that is a process that helps stop suicide ideation from being completed. Number 3, once you know this, keep them safe. Know about their plan. Most people have a plan of how they want to complete suicide. So know what their plan is. Is it a gun? Is it hanging? Is it jumping off a bridge? Then put some distance between their plan and how they were going to do that. Put that gun in a safe place and lock it away, and put that key somewhere and give it to someone. Make sure that they know or have some way to stop if they think that they want to go jump off the bridge, for instance. So keep them safe. Help them connect. That's where this new 988 24/7 hotline comes into play. That's all brand new as of last July. Came into effect. It's in the whole country. We have a new 988 number. It's like 911, but it's specifically for crisis response, suicide, anything like that, or any other kind of crisis. You call that number 24/7, you will get immediate help. And based on your location, where you're calling from, they can route you to the nearest response center that's closest to you. And we have local centers that all throughout our 14 counties that will connect you to local help. So that's the 4th one. The 5th one is follow-up. After this person, you've got them connected, you've got them help, you've got them talking to you, you've got them back to feeling that life is not so desperate and they have to check out. To make the hurt go away or deal with whatever's causing the problem, then you need to follow up and make sure they're okay. However you're going to follow up, it could be text messages or phone calls, it could be a postcard, an old-fashioned postcard, it could be dropping by, it could be meeting for coffee. It's however you are following up with that person. Those are the 5 steps that we want people to be aware of, sort of first aid for help in suicide crisis.
Absolutely. And follow up. Now that's something I would imagine that could just continue on, because ultimately those that are in that situation of, contemplating or really making a plan to commit suicide, that's a very lonely island to be on.
Yes.
They don't feel like there's any resources or anyone really cares. So that one there, once you get them on the right track or they're on the right track, It's important. You know what?
And that's
Everyone could.
that's going to be great, because then
Yeah.
you get to know that you really helped someone
Absolutely.
get on with their life and get over that rough patch and see that there's hope on the other side
Absolutely.
to their life, what their life can be like. and
Everyone
not
needs a
leave.
check-in every now and then. So think about that. If you do one thing today, check in on that somebody today. Doesn't necessarily mean they're in a suicidal place, but just check in on somebody. Everybody could use a hello every now and then. All right, so for more information, and when I say more information, get ready, because they do a ton of work here in the 14 counties here on the west coast of Florida. CFBHN.org. You're looking at the website right there. It also has all the information that Doris and I talked about today and then some. Be a part of something good and wonderful. Go check it out and see what all they're doing here. And it's a wealth of information. We'll be back after this. As always, I want to thank you at home for joining us this week on Bayside. And of course, Doris, thank you so much. We love having you here. You come back time and time again, and we hope to see you again real soon. All right, for you at home, be a part of something bigger this year. Log on to CFBHN.org and check out all the information that they do here in the Bay Area. Have a great week.